Hello everyone, my name is Gilbert Gallegos. I'm a Security Forces investigator with the 42nd Security Forces Squadron at Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. One thing that comes along with being a criminal investigator is investigating crime scenes, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. According to the United States Army Military Police School Training Doctrine, there are 12 phases to investigating a crime scene, and what I want to do today is discuss with each of you what those 12 phases are. So the first phase is the notification of an incident. I'm going to receive a phone call from the desk sergeant on duty while I'm at work or while I'm at home. And the first thing I'm going to do once I find out what the incident is bump that against the regulation that covers who is going to investigate the incident. Because in the Air Force, we have the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and then we have Security Forces Investigations. OSI handles the more high-end crimes, whereas Security Forces handles the lower-end crimes. So for example, if we have a negligent discharge of a firearm at an on-base residence, I'm going to reference AFI 31-701 Volume 1, which is the Criminal Investigations Program. And once I find out that the incident actually belongs to my office, I'm going to start gathering all the information that I can. I want to ask the who, what, where, when, how, and why questions. So once I get all that information, I'm going to arrive on scene, and that's phase 2. Once I arrive on scene, I'm going to verify the address, and I'm going to immediately start taking notes of everything that I see. I'm going to take notes of the room number, the building number that the incident occurred in, the color of the building, the makeup of the building, and I'm also going to take down how many floors there are in the building, what that building is used for. So in this case, it'd be a it would be a residence. And then I'm also going to get the geographical location. I'm going to write down the street address as well as the cross streets. I'm also going to document all the weather conditions and everybody that I met on scene as well. And then if I need to, I'm going to try and get search authorization in order to go into that residence to gather any evidence that may be on scene. So once I do that, I'm going to establish security of that crime scene. And according to AFI 31-115, which is the Security Force Investigations Program, I'm going to have to request security from my commander for that crime scene. And once I do that, he's going to allow me to move anybody that's already on scene to whatever position I need them to be in to ensure that nobody gets into my crime scene. So once I get security of the crime scene, I'm going to start taking photographs of that crime scene. And that also, photographs of the crime scene have to be done outside the building, so it's a 360 photograph of the building. And then once I get inside and I go into the room, I need to take pictures of the room itself, so a 360 of the room. And then I also need to take pictures of any evidence that I see on scene, as well as any potential evidence that may be there. So once I do that, according to AFI 31-115, I need to take 3 types of photographs. I need to take a close-up of the evidence, and then I need to take a establishing photograph of that evidence, and then I need to take another close-up of the evidence with a scale so we know what size that item is when we're reviewing the photos if we're going to court. So once I get all my photos taken, I'm going to start documenting the crime scene, and that is phase 4. So as I'm documenting the crime scene, if I'm in one particular room, we'll say a bedroom, for example, and in that bedroom you have a dresser, a nightstand, and a bed. What I need to do is annotate in my notes exactly where that bed is located. I also need to annotate what's on the bed, the size of the bed, and then I need to annotate what the dresser looks like, what's on the dresser, and then the nightstand as well. So basically everything as far as quantity, item, the color, the construction, and the approximate size of those items in the room has to be documented in my notes. So once I'm done documenting all the items that are in the room, I'm also going to move into phase 5, which is drawing a rough sketch of the room. So in order to draw a rough sketch, what I need to first do is take measurements of the room. So I'm going to measure the floor, the walls, the ceiling, the bed, the dresser, and the nightstand. And I'm going to write all these measurements down. And what I'm going to do once I get all the measurements written down, I have to create a sketch. I need to create a sketch of the room, which includes all the items that I've discussed as well as the evidence. And this is what the sketch would look like once it's complete. And as you can see, you'll have the bed, you'll have a nightstand, a dresser, and then there's some evidence right there, and then there's some evidence right there as well. So all that has to be documented via a sketch, and I have to create 2 sketches. So we have the sketch as you're looking over the crime scene, and then you have a sketch as if you're looking at the crime scene. So those are 2 sketches that I have to do. And then I'm going to move into phase 7 of the crime scene, which is just doing a quick overview of the crime scene, making sure I didn't miss anything. And as so long as I didn't miss anything, I can move into phase 8 of the crime scene, which is preserving and collection of evidence. And according to Army Regulation 195-5, which is collection of evidence, there are 4 ways that I can collect evidence. The first way I can collect it is to protect it. So if I have a stain on the floor, I need to cover it and then mark it with identification, which is the date, time, and my initials. Then I can mark it for just identification. So if it's a glass, I can just put date, time, initials on that glass and then go back and collect it later. Then I can containerize an item. So if I have a weapon, for example, I need to pick the weapon up, place it inside a sterile cardboard box, tape it up, and then again mark it for identification with time, date, and initials. And then I can also heat seal an item. So the only items that we heat seal are drugs. So if I find a marijuana cigarette in the room, I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to heat seal it in a plastic bag. And I'm also going to mark it for identification with date, time, and initials. So once I'm done collecting all the evidence, I need to complete a Department of the Army Form 4137, and that just indicates what I have collected from that crime scene and exactly what it looked like and the condition that I found it in. So following phase 8 is phase 9, which is again a second recheck of the crime scene. This time when I go in, I'm going to open up all the drawers, I'm going to look under the bed, I'm going to look everywhere that I haven't already looked during my first visual recheck of the scene. And if I find anything, I need to again mark it down in my notes, and then I need to add it to the sketch that I've already drawn. So the next check of the crime scene, which is phase 10, is the third recheck of the crime scene. And in this one, I just, again, go through the crime scene, make sure I didn't miss anything. And then if I discover any newly discovered evidence, I need to also go ahead and collect that evidence and put it on the DA Form 4137. After phase 10 comes phase 11. And in phase 11 is where I search beyond the crime scene. So I leave that bedroom or whatever room the crime occurred in, and I go outside, or I go into the rest of the residence, and I search for any evidence that may have been left behind by a suspect. If a suspect left we'll say a glove outside, I need to mark that as evidence and then mark it for identification and then collect it later on and again document it on the DA Form 4137. And finally, we have phase 12. So phase 12 is my absolute favorite phase of investigating a crime scene because that means I'm almost done. So once we get into phase 12, I'm going to determine if we need any continued security requirements. So I need to ask myself, do I need to keep these responding patrolmen on this crime scene for longer than they've already been here? And normally by the time I'm done with that crime scene, I'm going to go ahead and release everybody. And then once I release everybody, which is the second part of phase 12, is when I'm actually going to go back to my office and I'm going to document my notes in a report of investigation. And our report of investigation is done based on the requirements out of AFI 31115, the Security Forces Investigation Program. And it's usually about 15 to 18 pages, and that includes my notes and my sketches. And then I'm going to go back and review all the photographs that I've taken. And I'm going to make sure that the photographs meet all the requirements as required in our AFIs, which is Air Force Regulation or Instruction. And as long as they meet focus, clarity, and exposure, then I'm going to submit all of my paperwork along with those photos to our base legal office and to the Air Force Office of Special Investigations for action. So if you don't have any questions for me, I thank you for your time and I hope you have a great day.